Hello, I'm Susan Green, Associate Curator of Special Collections, Archives, and Research at the Philbrook Museum of Art, and I can't tell you how honored I am today to be joined by two guests. We have Jeff Moore, the Executive Director of OKPOP, and we have Chad Rodgers, General Manager and member of the Rodgers family, the owners of Cains. So thank you guys both for joining me today virtually.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Well, we are so lucky at Philbrook. We opened an exhibition called Tulsa Treasures, and we were looking around the community for collections that say something about Tulsa, about what's important to the people of Tulsa. And it just so happened we had this amazing coalescence of music material. Actually, it's not so amazing. It makes a lot of sense. There's this great passion for music in Tulsa, and it's just kind of now bubbling to the surface and getting a lot of press. But in our exhibition, we're able to highlight objects from OKPOP, which will open soon, and then also highlight the amazing photo wall, autograph wall, and Sid's fist from Cains. And so thank you guys for loaning those to Tulsa Treasures.
Yeah, thanks for displaying.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share some photos so people know what we're talking about. So first of all, we've got OKPOP and we've got Cains. And so remind people if they don't know, so tell us what street this is, where this is, if they wanted to drive down and see Cains and the beginnings of OKPOP, where would they go?
You want to go, Jeff? You want me to?
Yeah, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, Cain's address is 423 North Main Street, and our great friends from OKPOP are building right now, right across the street. I believe the exact address is 422 or
422.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice quiz. You get gold star for the quiz. So Cains has been there since the 20s, right?
Yeah, 1924.
1924. And it is the premier music venue in Tulsa, from Bob Wills and Western Swing to Jack White, to Bob Dylan to Sex Pistols. People really want to come and play Cains. Is that right?
Yes, it's amazing. It's got a lot of notoriety, and we just try and continue the legacy and the history there that's been there for many years. And yeah, it's amazing. It's great. We got a lot of artists that want to play here just because of the history.
We always read the articles about the top 10 requested venues in the United States, and Cains is always up on that list. That Cains is where people want to come and play.
Yeah, it's and people ask me all the time, why is that? It's hard to put that into words until you can probably walk in as an artist and feel what it feels like walking into the room. I mean, all the artists tell me that it's just an aura that comes over them when they walk in there. It's like it takes them back in time, and the energy that's in the room, and that's the energy that comes from the crowd. It just shows how much music, how strong musically the fans are in Oklahoma and Tulsa. So it's like I said, it's hard to put into words, but it's just something about the room, the intimacy, the history, all that combined that makes it usually a definite stomping ground for artists when they tour through the area.
And then a stomping ground for the audience members. I mean, that floor, there's something, it's magical to be in that space, standing with everybody around you and the musicians right there. It's just such a magical experience. And then,
yeah.
so then we have OKPOP. So tell us about OKPOP, Jeff.
Well, I mean, to kind of piggyback on what Chad is saying, I think, in researching the Bob Wills story and why he came to Tulsa, he was in Texas and getting some success, but he had some run-ins with his sponsor and was just looking for another location. And he was getting more fan mail in Texas from Tulsa than anywhere else. And so he knew that there was a fan base in Tulsa. And I think that's what's as magical as the location, the landmark that Cains Ballroom is that there's always great crowds. And that's a testament to the people of Tulsa. And Tulsa has always had a long history of music fans, pop culture fans, movie fans. You know, you look at the outpouring of support and love for The Outsider's House and what Connor's doing there. I mean, there's just something special about the people of Tulsa where they love to get together and they love to celebrate, you know, this you know, music or film or who we are. There's a lot of pride in the things that have happened in this town and the creativity that's come from this town. And so OKPOP is an opportunity to celebrate that and share that with the entire world. So when Jack White's at Cains Ballroom and we've got people coming from all over the state and all over the region for a show there, the great thing is they're not just going to they're not going to come just for Cains, excuse me, but it's going to be an all-day celebration and the next day, and hopefully they're spending their week here in Tulsa.
Yes.
And it becomes a whole experience with the Woody Guthrie Center and the Bob Dylan Center and Greenwood Rising, and the cultural heartbeat of Tulsa has always been pumping from Cains, and now we're building some other important internal organs to go with it. So that's what OKPOP is. OKPOP is here to celebrate the creativity of the state and share these amazing stories with the world. And it's amazing the number of people that have come from this state and the stories and the creativity and the fun. There's right now we're going through difficult times. Oklahomans have gone through difficult times. Bob Wills moved to Cains Ballroom at the height of the Depression, very difficult times, and he broadcast on KVOO across the western half of the United States. He had listeners in Montana, Colorado, California, and even in Hawaii at Pearl Harbor, and ships, Navy ships in World War II could pick up the broadcast from Cains Ballroom. So there's this idea that hope and joy and a little bit of humanity emanated from Cains Ballroom since the 30s with Bob Wills all the way up to today, and we're just hoping that all this comes back and continues, and we've got new stories and new experiences to be had.
Exactly. So is Cains kind of one of the, this is a rendering, an architectural rendering of what OKPOP will look like once it's fully constructed, and it's being built on what was a empty lot. And so is that one reason you picked this location, because of Cains?
Absolutely. Excuse me. The location is critical, and we actually looked at 3 other locations. This is the 4th location that we kind of surveyed and researched and actually had drawings and concepts, and what are the pluses, what are the challenges, and then this opportunity arose, and it was reaching out to the Rodgers family. They were involved in this discussion. Taylor Hanson was involved in this discussion, and then the landowner, David Sharp, said, "You know what? This is important," and he donated the property to the Historical Society. And so, and the way we're looking at it, we wanted to build something that would be very neighborhood friendly. Obviously, we have to have some space inside, so we had to go up, but we were very conscientious about the fact that we didn't want the building to be too tall. Mm-hmm. We actually, it's 3 stories, but we have a terrace on the 2nd floor, you can see there. So there's a 20-foot, another 20-foot level for the 3rd floor that's pushed back. away from Main Street a little bit to not just overcrowd it. But at the same time, we really wanted to focus that Cains Ballroom was across the street. So you've got great views of Cains Ballroom from the inside on 2 floors, and then the terrace on the 3rd floor. And then actually you can kind of see that gold piece there is our event space. Okay. And there's actually a window in that space where you can see Cains Ballroom. So we hope to have lots of events. We've even talked to the city about the possibility of closing Main Street on occasions. So there'd be a pedestrian back and forth between Cains and OKPOP and some of the other businesses there on Main Street and whatever else comes to the neighborhood, because there's a lot of undeveloped property. So there's a lot of opportunities for some new and exciting additions to Main Street, North Main Street.
And there's some additions going up. And speaking of height, there's the condos that are going up just south of Cains. And that's kind of been an interesting talking point in the community.
Yes. I've got the train coming through, so that's progress in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been interesting. It's hard to speak on that.
I'm sure. Sure.
I mean, it's you don't want to stop progress by any means, but we were disappointed that it would take away that view that people downtown could see the Cain sign lit up. Right. That was, from what we heard from so many people, it was kind of like a beacon of light. A lot of times, things were going on, that it was, something was going on, when it was lit up. So, but things have to come to an end sometimes. So it really is glorious to be at a restaurant, walk out of a restaurant, to see the Cain sign, silhouetted against the sky. There's a concert. You may not know who's playing. There's a concert, and there's stuff happening. There's people going to the bars, people going to the restaurants. Well, hopefully now, once OKPOP gets built, they'll be able to see that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, Jeff? So they'll know.
We'll just reflect the sign.
Yeah, perfect.
Over on our side.
That's a solution. Yeah. Well, let's see some of the things that you loaned to Philbrook for Tulsa Treasures. So here is the display, and because they meshed so well together, the wall from Cains, the OKPOP collections, we were really able to kind of make this cohesive design that really talked about music in Oklahoma, and how Tulsa's really a part of that. And then around the corner, you can't see it in these photographs, but around the corner, we were able to display this fantastic tiny portion of the church studio collection from Leon Russell's objects. Teresa Knox has thousands of objects, and we have a very tiny portion of them. So this really talks about music in Tulsa, and from Alice in Chains to Bob Wills, Merle Lindsay to Sid Vicious. I mean, it's the whole gamut, and Leon Russell in there as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think Merle Lindsay played Cains. I know we have one of the collections that we're really excited about. You can see the drum kit there, artistically displayed, and you guys did such a great job with the display.
You.
Excited.
Yeah,
but that drum kit belonged to Jamie Oldecker from Tulsa, and he's just been a great friend and great supporter of OKPOP from day one. He is the musicians from Tulsa. I don't know that there's greater fans of Tulsa music history than the musicians themselves. And Jamie is at the forefront of that group. And he got the vision of OKPOP from day one. He really understood that this was something that was important. And he donated parts of his collection from his career, including this drum kit that is a custom Yamaha drum kit that was painted to match one of Eric Clapton's guitar. And he toured with Clapton during the 70s and played with Bob Seger and Peter Frampton and Ace Frehley, and of course was, you know, one of the founding members of the Tractors with Steve Ripley and Walt Richmond and Casey Van Beek and Ron Getman, those guys. And it just, it was really cool. I did not know that you guys were doing the Cains display. Put it together, it was just perfect, because I think every one of those, I know Alice in Chains has played Cains, isn't that right, Chad?
Yes, sir. Yeah, a couple times, yeah.
Obviously, we know Bob Wills has, and I'm pretty sure Merle Lindsay has. He had a venue in Oklahoma City, but I'm almost positive he played Cains. And of course, you know, Jamie Oldecker played there multiple times. And there's a famous story he told us about George Harrison and Eric Clapton were in the Caribbean, and they knew that Eric's band, which was Carl Radel and Dick Sims and Jamie Oldecker, all from Tulsa, were playing this Cain show, and they decided they were going to come to Tulsa. And for some reason, George wasn't able to make it, and Eric was able to make it, but just barely. And he got to the airport, and he was drunk. And so he ended up being arrested and sent to the Tulsa Police Department jail, and the Jeff Nix, I believe, who was involved with Cains at the time, called and had to get him out of jail. And I think he showed up at Cains at the very end after the guys had been playing. But you know, there's just so many amazing stories, and it was really fun to be part of this and share some of these objects from the OKPOP collection.
And the objects are incredible, like this cowhide jacket and pants. I mean, slick. It is so crazy cool. And then to see the embroidery on Merle Lindsay's shirt and pants and the fringe, and to imagine, and you can tell that especially Merle Lindsay's set is worn. I mean, it's in great condition, but you can tell he wore it on stage. And so imagining, you know, the fringe swinging as he's playing and dancing on stage, it is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's that shirt you have there with the flowers embroidered on the black background, that actually belonged to Bob Wills. And it's interesting because he didn't like that look. Bob was, you know, he was the king of Western swing, but he was a jazz man at his core, and he loved blues, and he really, there was a kind of a sophistication about him that he didn't like the really gaudy, you know, hillbilly clothes that they called at the time. And so his father actually bought him that shirt and said, "Hey, why don't you put this, you know, this is a great look." And, you know, Bob said, "No, that's not our style." So it's kind of an interesting, the shirt that Bob owned but never wore.
I know. So we decided to display it like it was hanging in a closet, you know, not on a mannequin. It's hanging up. It was never worn, to honor that story, which we put on the label copy, so that kind of story. And part of this also is about those stories. And the Cains Wall, not only is there Sid's fist, so the drywall, but there are all of these photographs. So Chad, can you tell us about the tradition of the photographs?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we were fortunate enough when we bought Cains to get a lot of the stuff that was at least in the office, and the portraits that were in the ballroom. But all these promo shots that from artists that had supposedly played Cains over the years. So, I mean, this is, and in the centerpiece is, of course, where Sid Vicious put his fist in 1978 when the Sex Pistols played the Cains Ballroom. We were told when we bought the Cains back in September of '02, we were, of course, shown where this fist location was. And, you know, hearing all the stories about it, it was backstage, which you used to have to go on the Cain stage in order to get backstage. So it was different. Like, an artist couldn't show up midway through the opener's set and everyone not know he's not in the building, or to get backstage. So it was always a weird setup, kind of just how the building was. But so when we were told this, of course, and we decided we were going to restore the place and and do some upgrades in the summer of 2003, we immediately knew that this was one of the main things we had to preserve and keep intact. So we took it down and brought it up to the front office and had it preserved, you know, covered, put on the wall and all that. So that's kind of the history and how, but this is a famous piece, I mean, of history. I mean, almost every artist that plays Cains hears about, you know, they've got a piece of wall that Sid Vicious put his fist through when they played here. And they almost all come to the office to see it at some point throughout the day or after the show or whatever. So it's really a neat thing. But in our office is this piece of wall is what's in our office, as well as all the other walls have other pictures just like this. And it's really amazing to walk in there every day and just think about all the history and think about all the stories that I'm sure I don't know and haven't been told. I wish they would all be told, but about these artists, whether when they played here or just things like that. So
absolutely. And to be able to have these stories, this kind of glimpse into stories in the Philbrook exhibition is just incredible. It's such an honor. And I love the fact that so your goal in owning Cain, you purchased Cains and you restored it, and one of your goals absolutely was to preserve this legacy.
Yes, when we bought Cains, though, my family and I were, I mean, my parents had never been in Cains. My dad and my mom had gone to the University of Tulsa, but my dad grew up and was born in Tulsa and had lived here. My mom was from St. Louis, but came to the University of Tulsa. I, of course, had grown up here, 6th grade and on. We lived in Muskogee before, but and I had come down for some events at Cains when I was in high school and in college at the University of Tulsa. So I had been in the venue. I think my brother may have been in once or twice, but he's younger than I am, so I'm not positive in terms of what he attended. But so I knew of the place. I'd been in it. My parents had never been in it. We heard it was for sale on a Sunday on the 10 o'clock news. My dad called me Monday morning and said, let's go look at this.
Really?
We had been talking about wanting to do something downtown. I was in the process of selling a sports bar across from TU, so I didn't know what I was going to do. So my dad calls the real estate agent, and we go down and look at it on that Tuesday. While I had owned the sports bar, I had done some local booking for some local regional acts. And so on nights when there wasn't sports, I couldn't do sports every night, we did some live music. I used to have like Brandon Jenkins, Tom Skinner's Science Project, Steve Pryor. Some of those people played for me there. So I had kind of gotten a little taste of music. I mean, on a small scale, kind of, compared to what I was getting into. But my dad, I remember when we walked through the Cains on that Tuesday, he could just see past. He just saw past, and my mom too. I mean, they just saw past all the buckets on the floor that were collecting water, the dust on the walls, the everything that needed to be fixed or updated. They could see through it and had this picture of what it could become, I think, or more what it could look like.
Yeah.
You know, it had already become. It was already, you know, a national historic spot, but they could just see, I guess, a future in it, you know, a real future for us. And my dad, I remember my dad saying, you know, someone local needs to get a hold of this. Because I remember the real estate agent was like, I've got a bunch of other calls from people that want to see it too. And so I remember when we walked out of there, we stood on that sidewalk and he goes, I think we should buy it. You know, and I just remember looking at him and saying, it's going to take a lot of money. We got to do a lot of things, you know, because all I remember thinking about was those bathrooms aren't going to work. You know, once you know, it's going to need new sound and lights. The sound and lights hadn't been replaced in years. You know, I knew that once you touch something I mean, we all know this. Once you touch something in a historic building, you gotta bring everything up to code, or there's like all these code things. So like, it had to have fire sprinkler system. It had to have, emergency exit things on the doors, signs, all these things. So I guess I can't remember exactly I think he went home that night with my mom and I went home, and I remembered he called me on Thursday and was like, I'm going to sign the papers. We're going to do it. And he called the real estate agent and he signed the papers, and they signed the papers, my mom and dad.
Wow.
And
it's all because he saw it on the news on Sunday, and then there you are. And I think you were absolutely the right family to buy it, to preserve it, to know that you could take that piece that sits fist out and you could preserve it and put it in the office. We're so lucky. And I love the venue is fantastic. It is so much fun, and the energy to go to a concert there. And I love that it's all ages, that for mostly, I took my nephew to see Trombone Shorty a couple of years ago. There was not a better concert. It was so great.
He's energetic. Great guy. Yeah. Great.
Oh my gosh. So,
I mean, we've got an unbelievable team. I mean, I could not do what I do without my brother. I mean, we really manage it hand in hand. He has a lot of great things that he does and that I don't do well, and I do some great things that he might not do well, and we just complement each other really well. And, besides him, I've got a great production manager, Brad Harris, great box office staff with Kelly and Brown, and our bartenders are great, our security is good. Stagehands, I can't name enough, but we just have a really good team that's been together, I mean, for a long time. I think hopefully the people that work for us enjoy working for us because we don't have much turnover. We'll have people drop in all the time asking about jobs, and I'm like, well, we haven't had a bartender leave in 10 years. I mean, it's
right. That's a testament.
It's nice to have that. Yeah. A good family. And that's what we call it. I mean, when we did a GoFundMe for some of our workers, we called it the Cains Family Fund.
That's right.
And I always tell everyone, I mean, they're part of the family. I mean, I treat them just like I treat my brother, or.
And that GoFundMe was for the pandemic.
It was, yes.
Yes,
it was.
So you had to, I only imagine, because when our shelter-in-place order went in, you had to cancel a lot of concerts. So your staff couldn't work. And I love the fact that you put together this GoFundMe for your staff, for your bartenders, your security.
Yeah, my brother came up with the great idea, and what we did was really cool was we gave gifts in exchange for the donation levels. So if you gave $10, you got 25% off of Cains merchandise. I think if you gave $40, you got a limited edition glow in the dark Cains COVID-19 shirt. If you gave $100, you got one of the limited edition wooden pins that we had made out of the original Cains wood floor.
Right.
If you gave more, you got the opportunity to have the venue for a night. There was all these different things. So people, when they were given their heart and their hard-earned money to help support our people, our labor, our staff, they were getting something in return. So we wanted to, do that. So it was great. The GoFundMe raised a lot of money, and we were able to give that to our staff. So it was great.
And I think right now you can still buy merchandise on the Cains website. Is that right?
Yeah, luckily, anytime you can buy Cains merchandise on our website. It's just on our website. There's a link in the top corner. It's sub click down, whatever. But yeah, I mean, right now that's the only revenue we have coming in to hold us out through this pandemic, which hopefully we'll be able to open sometime. But I know it's tough on all of the businesses all over the world, and hopefully everyone makes it through.
That's right.
And obviously we appreciate everyone's support. Yeah.
I would love to see everybody, if you're out and about, to see everybody with a Cain shirt. We all need to buy Cain shirts so we can support Cains.
Well, thank you so much.
And then we're also going to support OKPOP. Because OKPOP, we are so excited for OKPOP to be in Tulsa, to be able to walk in those doors, to see Alfre Woodard, to see Leon Russell, to see Bob Wills, to see all of the influence, the cultural influence of Oklahomans.
Yeah, it's and we've talked a little bit about it, but the construction is, fortunately, construction was deemed an essential effort.
Yeah.
It's a big enough site, so most of the workers have been able to social distance fairly well. I've been on site to verify, and but you know, the crane is up, and we're making progress, and we'll be opening in 2022.
Okay.
Hopefully after all this is open and or over, and Cains is open and thriving, and we'll have some big parties in 2022 on Main Street.
Absolutely. I can't wait for those parties. I can't wait to have my Cains shirt and maybe an OKPOP hat and to support all of the amazing cultural stuff that's happening in Tulsa.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's great. We can't wait to be next door neighbors with Jeff and OKPOP. It's going to be great. So.
Well, and thank you to Philbrook and you, Susan, for all your efforts. And I think that's what's great about the Tulsa community is we're all like Steve Ripley, musician and producer, and one of my mentors always said, we're all in this together. And we just, you know, appreciate, you know, all the museums and cultural entities here in Tulsa. And I feel like this has all brought us all closer together. And I think for people who want to come to Tulsa, including visitors or Elon Musk or whoever, it's a community, and it's just fun that, you know, all these different groups and entities, public entities and private entities, can all work together for the greater good. And that's one of the thrills that I have, is just being part of that community.
I absolutely agree. And I love, Chad, your family's idea that everybody that works at Cains is a family. And I like to so we can just be this kind of big cultural family. Right. And I think that absolutely, I've worked other places, and Tulsa is really unique. We all support each other. It could be the parks, it could be the libraries, the music venues. We're all in it together. And we want to make sure everybody survives, everybody's supported. Yes. So, yes, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for loaning your collections, your objects, taking your wall, dismantling your wall, Chad, for bringing in objects for a preview for OKPOP. That was such an honor to get to preview these objects. And so Tulsa Treasures, the exhibition is closed right now, but we're going to open our gardens here in the next week or so. And if everything is safe, we're going to try it out, test it out. Then we'll be able to open our galleries. And so we're hoping to open our galleries back up in July, specifically Tulsa Treasures, so people can come and see Jamie Oldacre's Yamaha drum set and see the Bob Wills poster that features Cains, and then see the Cains Wall and really look at the signatures and imagine their fist going through that wall. So thank you guys so much for being a part of Tulsa Treasures and for being in Tulsa.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susan.